Duluth Spirit Mountain Recreation Area is moving to get back on firm financial footing. At a budget presentation to the Duluth City Council this week, Spirit Mountain's interim leader had an update. Joining us now is Ann Glumac, interim executive director at Spirit Mountain. And Ann, welcome. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
Coming off a pretty snowy, cold winter, how was the season for Spirit Mountain?
We had a great season. We had all of our runs were open. We opened on time, and we were able to extend our season through March, which doesn't always happen. We even had a couple of bonus days the 2nd and 3rd of April. So we gave people a lot to ski.
And what's behind the turnaround? What are you doing to chip away at debt?
Well, we're doing a couple things. First of all, the Duluth City Council, at the recommendation of the administration, passed a resolution that allowed us to pay back a line of credit that had been on our books since 2014,
right.
$1.2 million. So we wrote a check for $100,000 and then also were able to deduct from what we owed all of the qualifying capital investments we made. And last year we invested about $435,000, got credit for that, so we were able to knock $535,000 off that loan that's been there for 8 years.
What were some of the capital investments that you were able to get done in the past year?
Well, we added a new snowmaking line. We have to continually replace those. We invested in some of our rolling stock. We were able to also make some improvements to our mountain bike area. We put in some new picnic tables, so we were doing a little bit of everything. When you have a 48-year-old facility, there's never any shortage of things to do.
Are there any major, perhaps, maintenance expenditures that you might be facing now in 2022?
Well, we will be looking at, for this coming year, replacing another snowmaking line. We have some repair work to do, or some additional work to do on the water project that allows us to take the snow from the St. Louis River and use that for our snowmaking. We have to do a little bit of work there. And we will be also looking at some of the lift shacks, we call them, where the people who help you on and off the lifts are, so we need to do a little work there. But we will have a very robust building plan for this season.
And Governor Walz has included $12 million in the his bonding proposal for Spirit Mountain this year. What are you feeling in terms of talking with lawmakers as far as the appetite for approving that? Are you pretty confident?
Well, we were down for the St. Louis County and Duluth Days at the Capitol and made presentations to members of both houses to talk about what our priorities were. This is the city's #1 priority, and they were able to hear that. And we got a good response. Some lawmakers had been there on a tour in the fall, I guess, and then others had heard about the project in the summer, so they're at least aware of it. And we think it's a compelling ask because while it's physically located in Duluth, the vast majority of the people who come to Spirit Mountain are not from Duluth. We attract people from across the state and the region.
And this being a city priority really is kind of flowing from that consultant's report about a year ago that recommended $24 million in investment, or $23 million. The mayor has made that a priority. What do you see the changes looking like if you're able to get the state funding and then the city kicks in some money and additional funding can be found to bring that whole package together?
Well, what the most obvious piece will be a total renovation of the lodge, which was first constructed in 1974 with the energy efficiency that was prevalent in 48 years ago. So I think people will see a much more attractive, much more energy efficient, and much more a facility much more focused on the flow for our guests, because we're kind of a long, stretched out building right now. We just sort of kept adding on in sections. So what we hope will come from the design is something that makes much more sense from our user experience and gives them more access to looking at the hill, being outside if they want to while they're enjoying their time.
You're coming off a great winter for ski resorts. We've had plenty of snow and cold weather to keep that snow. Are you estimating strong revenues like you've had this year? Next year, what are you hoping for?
We are pretty conservative when we budget for our revenues. We want to make sure that our revenue targets are things that are conservative, and then we set our budget to fall within those conservative numbers. So when we do better, which we have done the last 2 years, the surprise is a good one. And we can take that additional operating profit and invest it into the infrastructure. So we have budgeted, I think, conservatively, but also realistically.
A lot of people just automatically think of Spirit Mountain as a ski hill, but there's really been a strong effort over the last couple of decades even to start making this a year-round attraction.
Yes.
You've been there about a year and a half now. Where do you think it is in terms of meeting its potential for a year-round attraction? What can it be doing differently, better, and what's it doing well?
Well, I think we are very close to being a year-round attraction with the exception of April. We open our campground in May. We have a spectacular campground that many people don't know about. We also start our adventure park rides in May. We start downhill mountain biking and cross-country mountain biking as soon as the conditions are safe enough to do so. We don't want people riding around in mud because it's not safe. We have hiking, we do summer camps, we have disc golf, we have scenic chairlift rides. We have last year we started renting out hiking poles, so if people want to take a hike on some of the trails and didn't bring their poles and it's a rugged trail, they have that. So we think we're doing well. I don't know what else we would add right now. Part of the plan that you mentioned earlier, the investment into the facility, would involve some new amenity at the adventure park. That hasn't yet been determined. We want to make sure that we do a really good job with the market analysis so that anything we build would be something that would hit the revenue targets that it would need to hit.
And how strong is event booking, banquets, weddings, things of that nature?
It's great. It's great. We have 68 weddings booked this year so far. For this summer, we start in May, they go through till October. We will have 4 weddings in a weekend, and various sizes. People have an outdoor wedding venue overlooking the lake and the harbor and the St. Louis River estuary. It's just spectacular. So we do very well. That's a big part of our business.
How important is Spirit Mountain in terms of the economic impact on the region?
What a good question. Thank you. It is a huge economic driver. The consultant report that you mentioned earlier did an in-depth economic analysis, and Spirit has a $22.4 million economic impact in the city every year. Every year. We're a big business. We have about 200 mostly young people who work for us in the winter on part-time jobs or going to school. We are a place that people learn to go to work and develop good work habits, so we're like a starter place for employees. And we are also a huge consumer of the many businesses in Duluth that we rely on for the goods and services to keep a $6 million operation going.
A big business also means big expenses.
Yes.
Are you able to keep up with your expenses? Electricity, for example.
Electricity is a challenge for us. When we pump that water from the St. Louis River all the way up the hill, that is a lot of energy. So we have been introduced to some folks at Minnesota Power who are helping us analyze that, see if there's something we can do differently to not only reduce the expense, but also reduce the greenhouse gas emissions that go along with that. We are, as I mentioned earlier, we are conservative with our revenue estimates, but we make sure that we think of every expense we could possibly have and that those expenses fall within those revenue estimates, or we look to operate differently.
People have been discussing the future of Spirit Mountain for a long time. Now that you've been in it for a while, what do you think that future holds? Do you think that the city will continue operating the recreation area? Should it? Should it be looking at a management company? Should it sell? What are you thinking?
I think that first I think the future of Spirit is one of kind of going backwards to the enabling legislation of 1973, which said we're supposed to create multiple recreational opportunities for our residents and visitors, help the economy, preserve the environment. And I think people forget about that. And I think we're doing all those things. So one of the goals I have during my tenure is to help the community get behind that vision and really appreciate it and understand it. I think that the operational part is sort of above my pay grade. That's something that the city and my board of directors would be the ones to look at. But I feel like we've had during some challenging times, 2 great years, which is actually completely attributable to the leadership team and the staff that have been there and have great experience and do a wonderful job running the operation.
All right. Well, Ann Glumac, Interim Executive Director at Spirit Mountain, thanks for coming in.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much,
appreciate
Ann.
it.
Thank you.
You bet.
Appreciated it. Thanks.